Hi, this is Timothy Zahn, author of Thrawn, and you're listening to Star Wars Reactions. Good for you.
There's been an awakening. Have you felt it?
In 1977, George Lucas formed a legacy.
The Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
Inspired by mythology, his saga has become a passion for many.
Feel the Force around you.
His legend has become our story.
It's true. All
one of resistance.
we are the spark that'll light the fire that'll burn the First Order down.
Rebellion.
Rebellion is built on hope.
And redemption.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
This is Star Wars Reactions.
Remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Reactions. We are back with our 112th episode, all a part of our crazy March reactions madness, when we have double duty with Mando and the Bad Batch. But we are going to have a great night, great show, and it's going to be fun. We're discussing the latest episode of the Bad Batch, The Outpost. So let's get going. My name is Aaron Harris, and joining me is the Mando to my Grogu, the David Motters. David, brother, what you doing?
Yeah, just watching a little bit of Star Wars on this wonderful day. No, a lot of Star Wars. It was incredible. We're recording this on March 8th. This episode dropped for the Bad Batch. Chapter 18 dropped for Mandalorian. And they're both incredible. And so what you doing? Just soaking in all the Star Wars goodness. I'm ready to react. There's so many reactions. And that's a really good problem to have. So yeah, I'm ready to rock, buddy.
Absolutely. Let's do it, because we got a fabulous show. It's going to be great. I do want to just make one quick shout out, though, before we get into our review, to Amber over on Twitter at LDYFAILE, Lady Flail, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Amber, thank you so much. Gave us a shout out earlier this week to let us know we were having some audio issues in our shows, and that had been popping up that we did not catch. And I want to thank you for that. Appreciate it. Loved hearing from you. And like I said, I got a small thank you packet that I'm sending out to you. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you. Simple as that. So hopefully we've fixed those issues going forward, and everything sounds better. So perfect. You ready to discuss the Bad Batch, David?
I'm ready, buddy.
All right. Well, let's do it. We're discussing the Bad Batch episode of The Outpost, released on March 8th of 2023, directed by written by Jennifer Corbett and directed by Brad Rao, and my favorite name in the saga, Nathaniel Villanueva. I just love that name. I don't know why. If he ever comes on the show, it's going to be weird.
It's a cool name, and it literally slides off the tongue.
It does.
It really is a cool name.
It's like one of those names you'd have on like one of those Spanish soap operas. Villanueva.
Yes.
Turns real quick and gives you the look. Whoopsh. Villanueva.
Exactly. And the women all fall out, you know. Oh my God.
Oh, have mercy. All right. The Outpost. In this episode, for a brief synopsis for you, Crosshair is sent with a squad of clones under the command of Imperial officer named Lieutenant Nolan, who's a little green under the collar, and sent to a remote world to guard an Imperial shipment awaiting pickup. They arrive only to find that only 3 clones remain from the original contingent of the Outpost. After their arrival, the depot is raided again, killing 2 of the 3 clones from the outpost. Lieutenant Nolan sends Crosshair and the remaining outpost clone, Commander Mayday, to recover the 2 stolen crates. They track down the crates and a firefight ensues, which sets off an avalanche, which not only destroys the crates, but severely injures Commander Mayday, who had just saved Crosshair's life by shoving him to the side so the avalanche wouldn't slam him into a boulder that was ahead of him. Crosshair digs Mayday out and helps him back to base, where Lieutenant Nolan refused to provide Mayday with medical treatment and let him die. Crosshair, distraught by everything that had just happened and coming to grips with realization, shoots and kills Lieutenant Nolan before he passes out there on the tarmac of the base. He wakes up in a strange room where he's being treated by somebody who gives him an injection and causes him to pass back out. So that's our synopsis. Let's get into our initial reactions. And normally, David, I let you go first, but I am so hyped for this episode. I'm going first because I cannot contain myself.
Absolutely, I absolutely want you to.
Holy snot, man. This was the greatest episode ever of The Bad Batch. I mean, this is the episode I have been waiting for. It is the linchpin to Crosshair story. This was fan-freaking-tastic. This episode, The Outpost, is for Crosshair what the Honorable Ones did for Callus in Rebels. This is the point, the turn for Crosshair's redemption and bringing back to Clone Force 99. This is it. This is the moment I've been waiting for. This was perfect. It was better than I ever imagined it could be. It was a perfect story. The animation was perfect. The performance by D. Bradley Baker, perfect. The music by the Kiners, perfect. Everything was perfect. If they don't win an Emmy for this, we're burning it down, I swear. But this was by far the best episode in the series. I'm done.
Well, Aaron, don't beat around the bush. If you like the episode, just say it.
It was okay. I loved it.
Well, gosh, after Retrieval, these last 2 episodes were just stellar. I mean, with the Zilla Beast and now this one. A lot of Star Wars fans wanted to see a Crosshair episode, including me. We hadn't seen him for a while. Well, we got it. Oh man, did we get it? Aaron and I, we've talked so many times, in previous episodes about the main themes in Star Wars, and one of those is redemption. Another big one's found family. That's massive, but this one is redemption, and that really shows it in this episode. Like Aaron mentioned in his initial reactions, this is the start of the redemption of Crosshair, and I can't wait to see how this all plays out. I just so impressed with this episode. I don't know if I like it more than Clone Conspiracy and Truth and Consequences, but it's right there with it. This is what I'm talking about. 8 episodes of this, cut it down from 16, and we're ready to rock. But yeah, ditto what everything Aaron said. It's incredible, and I'm so impressed.
Excellent. Oh, so good. So let's jump into our talking points for this episode and for Outpost, because it's just it's there. So let's talk about the new character we had introduced into one of the new characters we had introduced to this, who was pretty much the bad guy for this episode. The new character we all love to hate, Lieutenant Nolan. Obviously, green under the collar. We find out through the course of the mission that this was pretty much his first mission he'd been on. And he is no fan of the clones, and we learned that from the get-go. When he shows up on the base on Coruscant, he walks up and basically calls Crosshair out by his number and tells him he's out of uniform because he's standing there with his helmet off, chewing on his toothpick. It's Crosshair, which I was super excited to open the show with Crosshair. I was ecstatic because we were way overdue for Crosshair story. But then while they're standing there talking, he hears clones talking on board the shuttle, and he goes, and obviously lets his prejudice known right there. Oh, great, clones. I hate used equipment. Which, of course, right there, of course, is immediately red flag number one for this character. That's his first strike. And of course, we get to the planet. He's pretty much just ripping a superior officer down, even though he's a commander, but Commander Mayday, but he's a clone. So Lieutenant Nolan looks down on him, and Mayday just kind of lets him do it. He's obviously seen this type before, and is just like, okay, yeah, I'm not. He's done, and lets him be. Because Nolan basically exerts his authority. I am in charge of this mission now because you have failed. You've lost. You couldn't even protect your men while protecting the gear. Well, men die in war. It happens. But it's and this is where we find out, this may be his first mission. Then, of course, at the end, when Nolan refuses to get him medical attention and saying it would be a waste of Imperial resources. I'll tell you what, Star Wars has created, and Lucasfilm and Filoni, they've created some characters that you just absolutely despise before, and you don't like from the moment they walk on screen, like Mako a couple episodes ago. They just don't like him. I could not stand this guy.
No.
From that opening scene, I could not stand Lieutenant Nolan, and actually celebrated when he got his due. So let's hear from you, David. Tell me, what are your thoughts on Lieutenant Nolan?
Well, just as you were describing it, and you mentioned Mako from a couple episodes ago, you got me thinking about maybe the last Crosshair episode when they're on that planet, and Crosshair and Cody are trying to help bring a quote unquote peaceful resolution to this. And I'm trying to remember, I should have looked before before recording tonight, but I just didn't have time to get over and look at the Imperial guy similar to Nolan who was in charge of that, who once he gets freed, he immediately tells Cody and Crosshair to shoot her, and just that kind of, that guy and Lieutenant Nolan, these Imperial, I just say the word lackeys. They're just these persons who get a little bit of power, and I don't know, they just seem to find their way into these positions, and they're just miserable people. And like you said, we've seen a lot of baddies, but I don't know, it felt like it wasn't the bad guy of the week. The way that Jennifer Corbett wrote this, I felt like it was just done so well to make us despise him. And I've never shied away from saying, when you see some people get their comeuppance, it doesn't break your heart, right, buddy?
No, not at all. Not at all. And he definitely made for a good one-off baddie for this episode, and they made a baddie that nobody cared that he died.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they took care of him in the end. which worked out good.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we get a Clone Wars feel. I mean, this whole show has this whole series has a Clone Wars feel because it takes place immediately after the Clone Wars, and we're dealing with clones all the time through the series. But we get a more of a Clone Wars feel in this episode to me, because we're dealing with Mayday and his people, which his two clones we really don't get to see or hear a lot from, mainly because we get introduced to them and not 2 minutes later they're dead.
Right.
So I kind of that was kind of disappointing. But Mayday in and of himself was a fantastic character, and I really wish we had more about this guy.
Well, he just really reminded me of Rex.
Yes.
Just a good leader, a great leader, cares about, his guys, his clones, people under his care, and doing his job right. Yeah, just absolute gave me Rex vibes.
He did give me Rex vibes. Truly, he really, what he felt like to me, and it could have been a combination of his attitude and his demeanor and his animated looks, but he reminded me of the perfect mix of Rex and I just blanked on his name because I didn't write it down in the show notes. But the clone that went AWOL that ended up taking care of Rex that we saw at the beginning of the series.
As always, I will help you out. Cut LaQuaine.
There he is. Yes, Cut. He reminds me of the perfect. He like a blended Rex and Cut LaQuaine.
Yeah. Well said. Yes.
Because he's laid back like Cut, but he is business like Rex. He cares for his troops like Rex. He will take care of the mission. It is just very. He was a very unique. We're talking about clones, so it's really weird to say he's very unique, but he was a very unique character. And I'll be honest, I would love to see, and I know we won't get it in an animation, in a show or anything like that, just because of the way things are going right now. But I would love to see the story of Mayday from the Clone Wars. How did he get to where he was? What unit was he attached to? What did he go? Because I liked this character so much in just this 30-minute episode. I want to know how he got where he was.
Yeah.
Because obviously he made somebody unhappy to get posted at the edge. From what I could gather, even from Crosshair's comments, this would be the equivalent of an Air Force guy being sent to a radar station in Alaska.
Right. You know who it probably was? It's probably Rampart.
Probably was.
Probably knew how good of a clone he was, and just got him out of the way. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Very well could have been. We may never know, though. Although I would like to. If anybody's listening, please make it happen. I think it would be great.
Yeah.
Anyhow. But Mayday was a unique character, and he had an interesting relationship in this episode with Crosshair. And that is what really got Crosshair's what made me so excited with the Crosshair, seeing what I feel is the beginning of his redemption journey. I think he started questioning things back with the Cody episode. Right. But I think this is the one that really was the linchpin. This is the pivot. This is the line drawn in the sand that can't be crossed. And I think this is it for him. And it's all because of Mayday. you know, and they had a very unique relationship being sent on this mission. They really didn't know each other. You could tell there's not a lot of trust there to begin with. But it grows quickly as Crosshair steps on that hidden mine, and it's up to Mayday to save him. And he ends up saving him and putting little things in there to try to keep the pressure on the pad so when he lifts his foot up, it doesn't explode. But I love the fact that he's like, when he's like, all right, you're set. And Crosshair goes to move. It's like, whoa, not yet. Let me go around the corner first. He's like, and Crosshair's like, oh, pride in your work. I see. He's like, oh no, I know what I'm doing. I'm just not going to stick around in case it didn't work.
That's right. That's right.
It was perfect. I mean, it was just, it was very much this was very much an Odd Couple episode.
Yeah.
Is how these two operate. You know, you have Crosshair, the hardcore sniper killer guy, and then you got Mayday, the soldier, but he's laid back and he cares for his people. And Crosshair's like, good soldiers follow orders. And stuff. So, but it was a unique combination. What did you think of Crosshair and Mayday as they teamed up in this episode?
Oh, I loved it. And you know, we sit here and say, you know, what does the title The Crossing mean? You know, a couple episodes ago, what do names mean? You know, Dan Zaire always says, you know, names are important. And in this case, Mayday, you know, the first thing I was like, Mayday, wake up, Crosshair, wake up from the deep slumber that you've been in, that your fellow Clone Force 99 members have seen, that you just haven't seen. And like you said, Cody, his experience with Cody started to open the eyes. This really, really opened the eyes. And I was thinking about, as a kid, when I used to watch Lost in Space with Will Robinson and then the robot, if there was danger, Will Robinson. Well, I feel like Mayday's like that with Crosshair, you know, not as animated as Robot was in those episodes, but he's literally saying to Crosshair, you know, wake up, Mayday, danger, Crosshair. This, you know, you're a clone and all these Imperial lackeys want to replace us, and you're soon. You're coming next. So I really love the interplay, the interaction. You know, the way that Jennifer Corbett set it up, where Crosshair's like, you know, I don't want to carry dead weight, and then he ends up being the one carrying Mayday that whole way. And I thought at one point, man, I think they're going to get back. He's going to be okay. And you know, Lieutenant Nolan saw that wasn't going to happen, but you kind of saw it coming. This had to happen, and I thought it was a perfect team up. Plus, if he dies, it's not Cody dying, you know, because I really want to see Cody again here in an upcoming episode. So I really love the character of Mayday. Like you said, that combination of Rex and Cut LaQuaine. A mentor, you know, I'm doing a mentor series, psychology corner series on mentoring, absolutely mentoring Crosshair and teaching him and helping the mentee to learn, and doing it in a kind of like I mentioned in that initial mentoring thing, in a non-judgmental, supportive way, really helps Crosshair there. So absolutely love the team up there, buddy.
Absolutely. And one thing I liked about them together is he got Crosshair to open up. Crosshair has never been the talkative clone. He's always been quick to snip back, short with his answers. There's never been a lot of detail. He doesn't discuss anything. He's an observer. He sits back, he observes. And Mayday was able to get him to open up. Where were you stationed during the war? What was your unit? Where are they now? I guess we're just a couple of old veterans that they're running out of use for. It just he was able to relate to Crosshair and get him to open up in ways that honestly nobody else could. Not even the members of Clone Force 99. I don't think ever could have gotten him to open up and to even connect the way Mayday did with him.
I agree.
So, and like I said, I think this relationship is the beginning of Crosshair's redemption, because we see a change in Crosshair in this episode. It is as plain as the nose on my face. You see the change. He finds the dead body of one of the raiders and talks about it being dead weight and cutting dead weight so the others could escape. And I think Mayday had the best response. Remind me not to die on a mission with you.
Exactly.
The perfect response. But as they go on, then Crosshair's in trouble, and Mayday basically comes to his rescue, and they open up and discuss. Then when they finally get in combat, they're able to work together as a unit, as a team, and get the mission done. Unfortunately, it doesn't work out because the avalanche comes, destroys what they were supposed to get, which were the 2 missing crates, which they find out is just holding stormtrooper armor.
Oh, that
for
one.
Which you think this is hard. An episode is the ending of this episode is hard enough. It is, but to have that knife just kind of stabbed in their back and twisted at this point, because they're already being stabbed in the back by being replaced by these recruits and these stormtroopers, but then to have all of his troops have perished protecting these crates, which they didn't know what was in them till he was the last one left. And it was all equipment that they could have used to protect the rest of the equipment. It was really incredible to see that. And then with the avalanche coming, and then you see the changes occurring at that point. Crosshair ends up saving, or Mayday shoves Crosshair out of the way, saving his life. And Crosshair, of course, once he digs himself out, digs out Mayday. And I think the scene that really is the defining moment of this episode, you would think it would be, if you're walking, some people would think, it would be him shooting Nolan, or the scene with the pressure bomb. But to me, the defining moment of this scene is after he's dug Mayday out. Mayday tells him to leave him because he's not going to make it. And Crosshair says, no, we're going. And there's a scene, however so brief, where the winter storm is raging. The snow is everywhere. It's a blizzard. And Crosshair is sitting up against a rock or an embankment or something. And he is holding Mayday. You could see that he's freezing, that Crosshair is freezing. He's cold. He's shivering. He's holding Mayday's pretty much lifeless body at this point. There's no sign of life in him at all at this point, but he's holding on for dear life to Mayday. And just the look of loss and concern on Crosshair's face. To me, that's the defining moment of this transition into Crosshair's redemption.
Well, when last year, when you and I were covering the Obi-Wan series, you see Obi-Wan when he crosses the threshold, right? You see the lightsaber on his side. They get that shot from behind, and he's walking to the transport, to go find Leia. Mm-hmm. That's the crossing of the threshold. And, I initially thought it was him shooting Lieutenant Nolan, but as you explained it, I think you make a real strong argument. It's then when he decides to carry him out versus not. Mm-hmm. That we could make a strong argument. That's Crosshair's crossing the threshold towards his redemption story,
Yeah, that was the threshold. Now, don't get me wrong. The taking out of Nolan is pivotal as well, but this is the moment that the full-on change has happened. And when he gets back with Mayday, and then Nolan refuses the treatment, saying they failed their mission, it'd be a waste of Imperial resources. You can see that look of confusion, loss, betrayal in his face, in Crosshair's face. And it's at that point the change happened, the pivotal change happened in the blizzard, but the no turning back occurred when he yelled "Lieutenant," and Nolan turned around and he shot him.
Yeah.
That was when he crossed the line not to turn back.
Yeah. 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 There's no turning back for Crosshair now. He's going back to Clone Force 99.
Yes, he is. And I cannot wait for this glorious reunion. Oh, my friend, any other points about the Outpost that you want to talk about? And I know, trust me, I could talk a lot more about this episode, but we are trying to keep with March Reactions Madness. We're trying to keep them a little shorter and sweet this time around. But anything else you want to hit on before we move into our final reactions?
No, in fact, the thing that I did want to mention, I put it into my final reaction, so we can jump right into them and wrap it up. Yeah.
All right. Well, David, since I kick us off with the initial reactions, why don't you kick us off with the final reactions?
Will do. There's so many things, and Aaron just mentioned it. We could talk way longer on this episode, but there's so many things I want to say in my final reactions. I have a few, and again, I make it short and succinct. Here we go. So first, I couldn't stop thinking about Emperor Palpatine during this episode, especially when they're walking through the snow. I'm telling you, he's the one who orchestrated the creation of the clones, only to die in battle against the separatist droids, right? As well as in situations like these after the Clone Wars are over. And, it was a year ago right now that my son Eli went to Europe. They hit 4 different countries. One of them was Poland, and they went to Krakow. And that, if people remember, that is where Auschwitz, the concentration camp, is. And, just like Palpatine, Hitler was the reason behind all the deaths at Auschwitz, right? Just like Palpatine is here. It's so heavy to think about, but it needs to be thought about. My friend J.D. Steed, his son Sam, is a good friend of my son Eli. He went on the trip to Europe, and it was during spring break, which is coming up for us here, and he sent me 2 pictures from Auschwitz. One was the sun setting over Auschwitz, and very beautiful yet horrible and ominous and just sad. And the other one is of a plaque outside, and he took a picture of it, sent it to me, and it's just, to summarize it. It's just asking everyone to remember, to never forget what happened here. And, I think about that, with Crosshair, he's got to make sure no one ever forgets that stuff. Same thing with Clone Force 99. Never forget the sacrifices. And Mayday talked about them in this episode. Now, another final reaction is related to the woman. I looked back at it, and she was in a previous episode, Emery Carr, and she's working on Crosshair. She's the one who stuck the needle in his neck at the end of the episode. Now, I'm giving credit to Greg Cass here, because I was catching up on all my Rebel Base Card podcast episodes, and Greg Cass is on with Greg McLaughlin, and Greg Cass was talking a bit about this in the previous episode, and he was asking, what's up with this Emery Carr, and why does she have a bit of an accent like Omega? And I noticed it again. I'm listening to her, and I'm sitting there going, is she a clone like Omega? What's going on with her? But there's a real mystery there. Okay. Now, kind of going forward, my last final reaction is related to Mount Tantus here, and we're on the planet Wayland. I love how everything's pointing to big events happening here. Right now, we got Crosshair there, obviously Nala Se, Lama Su. They're looking for Omega, the whole crew there on Mount Tantus. And I can't help but think about meeting Timothy Zahn with you, in January, and how he created Mount Tantus and the planet Wayland so many years ago. And only to see them, playing such a pivotal role in current Star Wars storytelling. When people can go back to that episode where Aaron and I interviewed Timothy Zahn, and one of the things I'm telling you, Aaron, I was thinking about it. I was joking with Timothy Zahn that I could just see him sitting at a table with Dave Filoni, talking about all this. And now, Aaron, after watching a few of these episodes, I'm like, wait a minute. Did Timothy Zahn not tell you and me that he's been sitting at the table with Dave Filoni? And maybe Brad Rao and Jennifer Corbett as they've created this. But that just put a big smile on my face that, we got to meet him, talk to him. And I'm sure for him to see his work still entertaining us Star Wars fans to this day. So I thought that was really cool. And we're gonna see more of Mount Tantus and everything going on there. So those are just some of my final reactions. How about you, buddy?
Oh, well, I don't know what else I could say that I didn't say in my initial reactions, to be honest. This was by far the best episode of the series, in my opinion. It does not get better than this. Period. Hands down. This was everything I have been waiting for since Crosshair flipped and stayed with the Empire, betraying his brothers. This is what I've wanted. This is what I've been waiting for. And it's finally, I feel it's finally happening. We're finally seeing Crosshair realize what the Empire is, and their disdain not only for him but for his brothers, and we're seeing the redemption journey. It is something that I cannot express to you how much I've longed for this. You've listened to the show long enough, I'm all about the redemption journey, and I have been calling for Crosshair's redemption journey since the beginning, and I am just so pleased we got it. We're getting it now. I cannot say enough awesome things about the Outpost. Like I said earlier, this was just perfection on every level, from the writing to the animation, Kevin Kiner's music, D. Bradley Baker, my word. Oh my gosh, dude, give the man 5 Emmys by now. I mean, come on. One for every member of the Bad Batch, and he deserves an Emmy for every clone he's ever portrayed. So I can't even count how many Emmys that would be. He deserves them. And I mean, this was just perfect on every level. This is, if you've ever looked for perfection in animation, this is it. I'm done. So, of course, we here on Star Wars Reactions, we like to grade episodes as we are reviewing them as the new ones come out, and we like to give them a grade, just like if you were in school. We grade them with an A, B, C, D, or F. This is easy for me, David, and if you, and I'm sure people at home could tell what grade I'm going to give it, just based on the fact of what I've said through the episode. But this is easily an A+. Matter of fact, I even wrote in our notes a freaking plus, because it was just that stinking good. Which, as y'all know, for us to grade something, label it as an A+, our standard of measurement of comparison for an A+ is, oh my gosh.
No, I'll help. Twilight of
the Apprentice.
Yeah.
from
Yes.
Rebels. That's the gold standard for an A+. And this easily met it, in my opinion. David, how would you grade the Outpost?
Well, I'm pretty close to it. I put A plus a 0.5, and so Mason's there. I've been getting a kick out of hearing some of his grading. Now, I'm not completely copying his. He does kind of these halves and quarters and all some of that kind of stuff, and I thought it was kind of fun. I thought, well, let me kind of do that, because I would argue, like, for me, maybe like a and then a 0.10 would be like that A+. And so I just kind of wanted to play off that and say it's really close for me. But I'm telling you, I think we've got what, 4 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
That I think we're going to see even better than this. I have a feeling, and so I'm looking forward to it. There's a number of podcast outlets that got the first 14, but they didn't get the last 2.
Yeah.
And so I'm really wondering what's going down there, man. So they got my interest piqued, and so I'm excited. But yeah, this is above an A. But I'm telling you, buddy, I think they're going to do it. I hope they do it. In the season finale. I do think there's going to be a season 3. So I think it'll be not a series finale, but a season finale coming up.
Very good. Very good. And I very much hope there is a season 3. Hopefully we'll find out at Celebration at the Bad Batch panel. But we want to hear from you. What do you think of the Outpost? How would you grade it? You can, of course, hit us up on any of our social media accounts and let us know. Facebook and Twitter at SW Reactions Pod, Instagram and Pinterest, and of course, Tumblr, where all of our show notes are housed, is at SW Reactions. So feel free to hit us up there. Or, of course, you can email us at any point, swreactions@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. David, if somebody wants to talk Star Wars with you, how would they go about doing that, my friend?
Absolutely. 2 different ways. Twitter's the main one. That would be my handle. My address has never changed. It's at David_Modders, Modders. The other is Instagram, and that is simply David Modders.
Excellent. Of course, if you want to discuss Star Wars with me or anything in general, or my incessant love of this episode, feel free to reach out on Twitter at TAHarris121079. Would love to hear from you. So it'd be great. So, of course, because it is March Reactions Madness, and we got another episode coming up with the review of The Mandalorian. You will get your this week's Psychology Corner then, but with this episode, you get this week's Star Wars Dad Joke of the Week. David, buddy, are you ready to close this out with a dad joke?
I am ready, and I hope our listeners are ready.
Oh, I hope they are, because this one's a doozy.
Oh, jeez.
So, what is Jango Fett's favorite drink?
What? I don't know. What is Jango Fett's favorite drink?
Boba tea.
Oh, my God. How bad. It's so bad.
Boba tea.
Oh my God.
Which I thought was ironic, especially since we're recording this on Wednesday, and today's Who's Who Wednesday is Boba Fett.
Yes.
I love the irony of it.
Yes.
It's good on so many levels.
The Who's Who Wednesday, yes, on our feed.
on our social medias.
Yeah.
So, all right, my friend David, this has been a blast.
Oh my gosh. Great episode to cover, man. Great episode to cover.
Absolutely. And thank you everybody for listening in. We appreciate each and every one of you. Y'all are the best. Y'all are the greatest. Thank you for joining us this week. Be safe, be kind. We're praying for y'all. Have a great weekend. Take care of each other. Do something nice for somebody this week. Just do it. It'll make you feel good, and it'll bless the other person too. So remember, this is your place for elegant discussion for a more civilized age.
If you'd like to share your thoughts, you can email us at show@starwarsreactions.com for our show notes and the latest news from the Star Wars universe. Visit our website at www.starwarsreactions.com. You can also follow us on Twitter at SWReactionsPod or on Facebook at Star Wars Reactions. If you enjoy our show, please leave a review on iTunes. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or by Lucasfilm Limited. It's intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars. All names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and the respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Star Wars Reactions unless otherwise indicated. Star Wars Reactions. Elegant discussion for a more civilized age.